Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning to you listening to me this morning. It's a beautiful Monday morning and welcome to a brand new week. You're listening to Bigheart 92.1 FM Asaba, the station that beats for you. And this is the Daily Brief with Marvellous Akpenyi. And of course, I am Marvellous Akpenyi. And it's Monday, July 20th, 2026. We're starting the week with news that matters to you, of course. We'll be talking about Spain winning the World Cup on the papers. We also have issues about petrol and so many other stories that we'll be taking this morning. So, we've got the papers. Please stay with me, and for the next 25 minutes, I promise to make it worth your while. So fasten your seatbelts and let the journey begin. So we'll be starting first with the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And on the Vanguard, we have here FIFA 2026 World Cup. Superb. Spain rule the world. Overwhelm Argentina. And that's on page 32 of the Vanguard newspaper. I'm not going to go into so much details, not because I'm not a sports lover, but because I'm sure that Julian Adjunga, before I came in here, already did justice to that. Okay, and away from that, we have agro exports crash 31% as port delays, pesticides trigger global. Agro exports crash 31% as port delays, pesticides trigger global. And underneath that, we have 15 containers of hibiscus rejected in Mexico. 48-hour cargo clearance stretches to 3 weeks in Nigeria. Experts warn that Made in Nigeria brand is currently under threat. Experts warn that Made in Nigeria brand is currently under threat as agro exports crash 31% as port delays and pesticides beginning to trigger. Okay, and still on the Vanguard, we have Badejo Okusanya wins NBA presidential poll, pledges accountability. Badejo Okusanya wins NBA presidential poll, pledges accountability. You can find that on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Also, NGE holds 4th Lateef Jakande Memorial Lecture on Credible Elections, July 23. NCAA experts clash over 5% air ticket charge. That's on page 2 of the Vanguard. NCAA experts clash over 5% air ticket charge. Okay, so that's it on the Vanguard. And still on, we have petrol imports rose by 207% in June. Petrol imports rose by 207% in June. That's coming from the NMDPRA. And you can find that on page 2 of the Vanguard newspaper. Troops, Mopol foil mass abduction attempt at FGGC in Borno. Troops, mobile police foil mass abduction attempt at FGGC in Borno. All right, and we also have Nigeria's macroeconomic reforms are bearing durable fruits. That's coming from AGAMA Secretary and the Director General. Yes, he's saying that Nigeria's macroeconomic reforms are bearing durable fruits. Okay, that's it on the Vanguard. Let's move on now to the next paper this morning. We have The Punch with the punching headline that says, Dollar sale now. Dollar sale row. Marketers halt Dangote fuel loading. Federal government steps in. Marketers halt Dangote fuel loading. Federal government steps in. And we have pricing uncertainty triggered Dangote fuel loading suspension. And that's coming from the marketers. Pricing uncertainty triggered Dangote fuel loading suspension. The marketers are saying, and we have refinery rejects claims of loading shutdown. Refinery rejects claims of loading shutdown. And also, federal government opens talks with Dangote as FCCPC insists on Naira payments. Federal government opens talks with Dangote as FCCPC insists on Naira payment. Still on the Punch, we have terror mole alert. Opposition slams federal government, demands arrests. Terror mole alert. Opposition slams federal government, demands arrest. You can find that on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Businesses expect CBN to hold rates as MPC meets today. Businesses expect CBN to hold rates as MPC meets today. And that's on page 21 of the Punch. Also on page 21, you can find states pocket 2.37 trillion naira VAT under new tax regime. States pocket 2.37 trillion naira VAT on the new tax regime, and that's coming from the FIRS boss Adedeji. All right, still on the Punch, we have fake agency scandal. Abbas unveils probe panel today. Fake agency scandal. Abbas unveils probe panel today. All right, and still on the Punch, we have World Cup, no mercy for Messi. As Spain seal second title. No mercy for Messi as Spain seals second title, and that's on page 30 of the Punch. August 2027, Yayi Yabo Basanjo clash over campaign refund. Okay, Yayi Yabo Basanjo clash over campaign refund, and that's on page 8 of the Punch. Tenant dies after disputed eviction at Lagos estate. Tenant dies after disputed eviction at Lagos estate. You can find that on pages 4 and 6 of the Punch. And finally on the Punch, we have federal government raises 729 billion naira bond to clear generation companies' legacy debts. That's on page 27, talking about electricity generation companies. Federal government raises 729 billion naira bond to clear Genco's legacy debt. All right, that's it on the Punch. Let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. All right, on the Guardian, we have battle for excess liquidity. DMO Dangote mobilize 11 trillion naira in 6 months as real sector struggles. Battle for excess liquidity. DMO Dangote mobilize 11 trillion naira in 6 months as real sector struggles. And still on the Guardian, we have Nigeria losing over 862 billion naira yearly as MDAs exceed 900, says Oye. Nigeria losing over 862 billion naira yearly as MDAs exceed 900. Also, cooking gas imports surge by 1,400% as petrol supply dips by 22%. Cooking gas imports surge by 1,400% as petrol supply dips by 22%. And still on, we have federal government targets 729 billion naira second tranche bond to clear Genco's legacy debts. We also had that on the Punch. You can read it up on the Guardian. It's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. ICPC secures forfeiture of 941.9 million naira from IPPIS ghost workers. That's interesting. ICPC secures forfeiture of 941.9 million naira from IPPIS ghost workers. That's on the news page 4 of the Guardian. Serap urges National Assembly to withdraw social media shutdown bill. Serap urges NAS to withdraw social media shutdown bill. You can find that on the news page 4. Also, we have Sanford's poll at Badejo Okusanya emerges 33rd NBA president. Sanford's poll as Badejo Okusanya emerges 33rd NBA president. That's on the news page 4. We have Obi marks 65th birthday with 10 million naira Anambra Hospital donation. Obi marks 65th birthday with 10 million naira Anambra Hospital donation. All right, you can find that on the news page 7 of The Guardian. Parties begin candidate upload, express confidence ahead of INEC deadline. Parties begin candidate upload, express confidence ahead of INEC deadline. All right, and finally, let's move on to the Nation newspaper, where we have Nigeria asks ECOWAS to drag South Africa before the African Union. Nigeria asks ECOWAS to drag South Africa before the African Union. And it says we must send signal that xenophobia is unacceptable. Tinubu, don't change constitution to end tenure. Okay? To extend tenure. Tinubu, don't change constitution to extend tenure. And it says we must send signal that xenophobia is unacceptable. And still on the Nation newspaper this morning, we have right here NRS gives July 31 deadline for e-invoicing compliance. That's the Nigerian Revenue Service, not FIRS. Now the NRS gives July 31 deadline for e-invoicing compliance. Troops foil attempt to kidnap 46 students in Borno. Troops foil attempt to kidnap 46 students in Borno. And also we have NDLEA intercepts Kano-bound 136 million drugs on Lagos-Ibadan road. That's on page 36 of the Nation newspaper. We have Obi Atiku lack structure in North to defeat Tinubu. That's coming from Ganduje. He says Obi and Atiku lack structure in the North to defeat Tinubu. And that's all we'll be taking from the Nation newspaper this morning. That's all the papers I have for you this morning. And today's review featured headlines from The Guardian, The Nation, The Punch, and Vanguard newspaper. And on The Punch, let's start with The Nation. On The Nation, which was the last paper we took this morning, it had the headline about Nigeria asking ECOWAS to drag South Africa before the African Union over xenophobic attacks. And do you think that African nations should begin imposing stricter diplomatic consequences whenever citizens of fellow African countries are targeted? And there are also some concerns about the African Union. I mean, how strong has it really been lately? I wonder. All right, and then on The Guardian, we had the story of DMO Dangote mobilizing 11 trillion naira in 6 months as real sector struggles. And according to The Guardian, Nigeria's financial system is experiencing excess liquidity, with government borrowing and private investment attracting trillions of naira. Now, the challenge isn't always the availability of money, but whether businesses can actually access affordable financing. That has always been the question. So on the Vanguard, we had Spain rule the World Cup, and football continues to remind us that every generation eventually gives way to another. If you followed the match yesterday and also listen to the show this morning, you would understand how it's been so far. And here is my congratulations to Spain on winning the World Cup. All right, and on The Nation, we had Obi Atiku lack structure in the North to defeat Tinubu, and that was coming from Ganduje. Well, political campaigns are gradually gathering momentum, and Nigerians will continue evaluating candidates based on performance, policies, and credibility. And I found it really interesting how the primaries went this time around. It's not when some Nigerians would say, well, the candidates were imposed on us, the party picked someone, and then they just imposed the person on us. This time around, Nigerians had to go to their political parties and then conduct these elections and then pick a candidate for their political party. So this time around, we hope that while you're supporting that person, you understand how credible that person is. You understand the person's policies, and you'll be looking out for their performances. All right. And also we had on the Guardian, as Serap urges National Assembly to withdraw social media shutdown bill. So Serap is asking lawmakers to reconsider legislation that critics fear could restrict online expression. Supporters of the bill argue it is aimed at curbing misinformation, and some persons are insisting that existing laws are enough, and they are warning against limiting freedom of expression. Now, how do we find the balance between responsible online behavior and protecting freedom of speech, which remains one of today's biggest democratic conversations? Freedom of speech, and then balancing it with online behavior, fake news, so many things you see on social media today. And I mean, at some point I've thought to myself, is there anything we could do to maybe restrict some of these behaviors on social media? But then Serap is urging the National Assembly to withdraw social media shutdown bill because, well, it could lead to it's going to look like you're limiting people's freedom of expression. All right, and that's how we wrap it up on the show this morning. You've been listening to the Daily Brief on Bigheart 92.1 FM Asaba, the station that beats for you. I am Marvellous, Akpenyi, and I'm going to help you ease into the morning with a beautiful selection of music to brighten your day. It's we're just having a little showers this morning. Maybe we can call that showers of blessing. Okay, enjoy the music, and don't forget that you can always follow us on all our social media platforms. It's Bigheart 92.1 FM. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. So go ahead and follow us on our platforms. For now, it's goodbye from me till I catch you again tomorrow, same time and same station. Have a lovely Monday morning.